Hello, welcome back to another episode of Crowdworkcast. My name's Andrew Barnett. Thanks so much for joining me. I say this is another episode. Realistically, this episode is just me telling you that season 2 of the podcast will be coming to a close with this episode. I'm going to be taking a short break. Just to, I feel like the podcast needs a bit of a freshen up, and I maybe need a bit of a freshen up. So, if you've been following along this iteration of the podcast, this is episode 100. Now, I do all these episodes by myself, in terms of booking and editing and putting it all up. So, I love doing it, but it's quite a bit of work, and I've just been listening back to some of the most recent episodes, and I feel like I'm getting to a point where I'm saying the same thing quite a lot on the podcast, which if it's boring me, I can't imagine it's not boring you as the listener. So I think I just need to take a little bit of time off from this particular iteration of the podcast and give myself and the podcast a bit of a freshen up. If you are a regular listener and you would like to, you've got any feedback for me, you've got any suggestions of how you think I can make the podcast better, things I should do or shouldn't do, feel free to reach out. I'd love to hear from you. You can reach out to me in my social media. You can drop me a message over there on Instagram, or you can send me an email. I'm andrewbarnettcomedy@gmail.com. If you've got any feedback for how you feel like I can improve the podcast, I would love to hear it. Now, that said, don't unsubscribe. There is the podcast will be back. I've got other guests already lined up. I just think I need to maybe have a bit of a look at how I'm doing it and see if there's a better way to approach it, or see if there's any improvements I can make. Anyway. So yeah, do not unsubscribe if you're enjoying the podcast, and don't despair. The podcast will be back. It may be slightly different in format, or maybe exactly the same. I don't know. So don't unsubscribe. Also, if you are watching this on YouTube, if that's where you enjoy the podcast, there's going to be other stuff coming there. I have footage of a show I did in Newcastle last year at the Newcastle Comedy Club that an editor, the wonderful Alex J, has sorted out for me. So that's going to be going up. I don't want to call it a comedy special or a YouTube special or whatever. It's just basically it's a show I did in Newcastle. That's why it's called One Night in Newey. The intention when I taped it wasn't it wasn't taped as a special, is what I'm trying to say. To my mind, if you're going to tape something and release it as a special, then that the primary audience in your mind should be the people that are going to watch it online or wherever they get it. Whereas opposed to this is a show I did for the audience in the room that night that I just happened to have footage of. So, but that will be coming to my YouTube channel. Also, I think I'm going to put it up on my TikTok too, because you can put up to an hour on TikTok, and so I think this runs at about 48 minutes or 50 minutes or something. So, you'll be able to see it over there, Andrew Barnett Comedy on TikTok. My YouTube channel, Andrew Barnett Comedy, that will be coming to that soon, and I'm even tossing up with maybe getting the audio and throwing it up in the podcast feed, just as a little bit of an interim bit of content while I in the meantime, before we bring the podcast back in its new and improved format, which might be exactly the same. Who knows? There's still stuff coming. Please don't unsubscribe. Don't despair. If you're enjoying the podcast and you've been enjoying the podcast, it will be back. I just need a bit of a break in order to keep it to keep the quality where I want it to be, basically, and to keep myself at my best on the podcast, because I am. Listening back to myself on some of the episodes, I am boring, and I need to have a bit of a look at that. Anyway, like I said, if you've got any feedback, reach out. Keep an eye out for One Night in Newey coming to YouTube, TikTok, and maybe even this podcast feed. Keep an eye out for other stuff I'm doing on my socials. If you're not following me on socials, go over, give me a follow. Andrew Barnett Comedy on Instagram and Facebook, also on TikTok. And if you're checked out the if you haven't checked out the YouTube channel, Andrew Barnett Comedy on YouTube, there's all the old episodes of this up there, so you can see what me and my guests look like. You can also go there. There's a bit of stand up there. There's a bit of other stuff I've put up there over the years. So, which is another reason I need to take a bit of break from this, because I feel like I need to give those channels a bit more attention and give them a bit of love. So, yes. Still plenty going on, but yeah, just taking a bit of a break from the podcast. But I don't despair. I will be back. Yeah, thank you very much for being a listener. And like I said, if you have any feedback, anything you think is good, bad, or indifferent, please don't hesitate to reach out. Anyway, thanks for being a listener. I'll talk to you again real soon.